In less than a month, the most important event for Disney fans around the world will once again take place in Anaheim. The D23 Expo has always been the place to celebrate what's to come from Disney, both when it comes to films and the parks, from Disney World to Paris. And this time, Disney promises it'll pack a punch. Last D23, 2 years ago, the Parks Panel, as fans call it, took place in the very large Honda Center. This because it was the largest one so far. Announced there were countless projects for the parks around the world, from the Cars and Villains lands for the Magic Kingdom, Monstropolis for Hollywood Studios, Indiana Jones and Encanto for Animal Kingdom, Coco, Avatar, and the Avengers Infinity Defense expansions for California Adventure, the Avengers Tower of Terror and Spider-Man coaster for the Chinese parks, and of course Lion King Land and the 2 new nighttime shows for Disneyland Paris. This time around, the panel will once again take place in a very large arena as major updates regarding projects already announced and several surprises will be shared with the public in attendance. As usual, it's time to talk about predictions and what to expect from this year's event. So let's get right into the thick of it. First of all, with how large the last event was, and seeing most announcements made back then are still to open, I don't think this year will come close to the amount of new stuff. But that doesn't mean it'll be any less exciting. Even if we came to learn some details about each project in the last couple of years following the panel, we still know very little about so many of them. Because of this, I believe a very large part of this event will be dedicated to providing new details and updates on these projects. Things like Villains Land, for example, as we know close to nothing about what to expect ride-wise. So in the first part of the panel, I therefore expect new information on Cars Land, Villains Kingdom, Monstropolis, Coco and Avengers, Spider-Man and Lion King, perhaps with Avatar in California also making an appearance. These details will add a lot to what we know regarding what to expect. For example, when it comes to Disneyland Paris, most of what we know about the Lion King ride comes from blueprints rather than Disney themselves. Maybe we could see a short previs type ride-through of a scene from the ride, or a sneak peek at some audio animatronics coming to the ride. One other announcement or set of announcements I expect for this event is regarding the future of Disney Village in Paris, which is currently undergoing a complete makeover and whose already announced projects are coming to an end. The next batch of news should be coming soon, and this is a perfect place to launch some of the most exciting ones, especially considering 2 third-party announcements were just made regarding the renovation of the cinemas and Vapiano. It is now Disney's turn. Then there are smaller announcements, stuff that doesn't need all the fanfare that a brand new land or major ride gets. Here I expect Disney could share some more news regarding the updated Carousel of Progress and new entertainment for the parks, especially with the upcoming celebrations for Disney World's 55th anniversary and Disneyland Paris's 35th, in which a new parade is rumored for the Disneyland park. This would be the perfect time to announce how these resorts will celebrate their anniversaries, as they're kicking off not long after this event. One other I'm just throwing out there is a rework of Disneyland's Fantasmic. The show lost the dragon and ever since feels like less and less. It would be a clear and easy win of an announcement. Another is a nighttime spectacular for Animal Kingdom. With the new Tropical America's land soon joining the fold, the park will slowly keep people for longer, and I think it really needs to extend its operating hours. With this, a new night show needs to come to the Discovery River Amphitheater. Disney Adventure World has successfully demonstrated drones, aquatic drones, and effects coming from barges, and this would be the best way to bring a show to life here. A mix of Cascade of Lights and Rivers of Light is what I would bet on. I believe that an important part of the panel will be dedicated to these smaller announcements, as news do need to be shared. We can't have the same thing as in 2022 with the blue sky ideas being thrown out there, so entertainment could definitely be important. Then we have the cruises, as, in the end, they're still very much a part of the Disney Experiences umbrella. This division is still seeing a lot of growth, and I don't think it'll stop anytime soon, so I expect either new ships being announced or new experiences connected to them. Now, when it comes to larger announcements, this is where things can become slightly more complicated. We already know that this could be a bit of a leap year when it comes to new stuff, as most of what was announced in 2024 is still to be delivered, but with a lot of these projects opening before or around the next Expo in 2028, I definitely believe we will be blessed with some announcements. First of all, we know that there is a lot of evidence that Shanghai Disney will be getting a second gate anytime now. It's been under development for years and, as I explored in the separate video, really seems to be gaining traction. And yet, nothing was announced in Shanghai during the 10th anniversary panel hosted there. Could Disney be waiting for D23 to make this major announcement? That's certainly a possibility and would most definitely have a lot of material to talk about for weeks to come. Depending on what the concept for the park is, it could also be a key point of the event, especially if the old Westcott-type park concept is still on the table. The resort being co-owned by the Chinese government though does make it less likely, but in the end it's definitely a possibility. Another is Disney Abu Dhabi. The project was announced last year in collaboration with Miral, the company building and operating the resort, but since then clouds of doubt have begun overshadowing the announcement due to the recent political developments in the Middle East. I personally don't think it'll be cancelled, and if Disney and Miral feel like this, then some news could be shared, especially since we know close to nothing, and since May of last year, not much was shared by either party. Going back to Paris, in 2024 during the panel, Josh D'Amaro announced the opening year of Disney Adventure World and the World of Frozen. That was about 2 years before it did open. So if, and this is a big if, the Lion King themed area is set to open in 2028, we could hear about it. If nothing is said regarding this expansion, I think we can assume Disney expects the land to open the following year of 2029. Something regarding those two new Disney parks, Abu Dhabi and Shanghai, would definitely be very welcome. However, there's a lot more I believe we could see being announced. Let's talk about Space Mountain. Some weeks ago, the rumor that Magic Kingdom's Space Mountain would be completely reimagined appeared seemingly out of nowhere. According to it, the classic and iconic facade would remain, but inside, Imagineers would completely rework the very old coaster. While a few didn't receive the news well, I personally think it would be an amazing project, as the coaster is simply laughably bad. It does not belong in a Disney park in the 21st century. Something new that the whole family can enjoy in the vein of Big Thunder Mountain or even just closer to Disneyland's Space Mountain would truly be a welcome change, especially since the more thrilling Tron is already close by. Now, Tokyo is completely rebuilding their Space Mountain, and it will be 100% a new attraction, and much more thrilling too. I do not think this would happen here. However, Hong Kong's could also be much better off, with some updates and maybe even the removal of the Star Wars overlay. In the end, the Space Mountain that most needs change is Disneyland Paris's. I won't go too much into it, but the park absolutely needs Space Mountain back with the removal of the cheap Star Wars overlay, and if rumors are anything to go by, this could take place as early as next year. So for this prediction, I could see a big announcement regarding all the Space Mountains around the world, each getting an update, refurbishment, or complete reimagining. Last D23, one park in Walt Disney World was somewhat forgotten. Epcot had completed its makeover, and yet it feels like something was still missing. I think that we could see two announcements for the park. First of all, bringing back the new version of Spaceship Earth to the table. It was announced some years ago and forgotten not long after, but it desperately needs it. Test Track's new version has been very well received by fans and guests alike, as it mixes both the old and the new. I think this is something we can expect more of in upcoming projects. I mean, even Carousel of Progress is doing this. Speaking of old, Journey into Imagination with Figment needs some love. The ride features an incredible original character that it's beloved by many, and yet it doesn't really give riders much. I think that we could finally see a new version being announced alongside a major renovation, and while they're at it, the return of Dreamfinder. The movie featuring the two characters is supposedly still on track too, which just adds to the fuel. That mostly covers what I'm personally expecting from this D23. However, there are a few ideas that are a bit out there that I could still consider, such as a new hotel for Disneyland Paris, seeing all others are constantly at capacity and the resort continues to grow, a Tomorrowland renovation at Disneyland as parts of it are literally falling apart, a new land for Shanghai Disneyland if the second gate isn't announced, and on top of it all, large-scale expansion of the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim with the Disneyland Forward project, which could include new lands all the way to a third park or major new development to take over a Toy Story parking lot. I'm not expecting these to be announced, but still I think they're worth a mention. So with that said, I will be covering any major news that do come out of D23 Expo later next month, but now I ask you, what are your predictions for this event and what would you most like to see being announced? Let me know down below. And now, as always, thank you for watching, and that's a wrap.